Hello, welcome back. Today's episode is a little bit different. I'm going to be getting ready and talking to you guys about how I got my shit together in 2024. No fluff, no sugarcoating, and really just being myself and talking about what I did this year that's different than anything that I've done any other year. And really, this year for me was about growth, discipline, and finally putting my energy into becoming the best version of myself that I've always known I could be. But I think we're always definitely our own worst enemy in that regard. The look I'm doing today, I have this roller in my hair. I have my hair clipped back, but maybe I'll do a little blowout action. I don't know. But I am drinking my coffee and my protein smoothie. If you guys didn't know, I am a personal trainer and holistic coach. So I do start my day right. I got a workout in this morning. I hit upper body. I just changed my workout for the new year, or my workout splits rather. And I told myself I would get ready more often. So here we are. I have no rhyme or reason, and I know nothing about doing my makeup. So this will be an adventure for all of us. And I'm probably going to start and do my lashes. I do them myself, baddie on a budget. And I'm recording this on my iPad, and I've never done that before. So if it's awful, not like it matters. I don't really give a fuck, honestly, but just in case. So I don't know if y'all share about what I'm using. Most of you probably don't. I'm using the Lilac Street glue. I didn't get the pro one because I was paying $4 extra for a brush instead of like one of the brushes instead of like this. So it looks like eyeliner. And yeah, and I would have paid more money for something like this. I was like, I'm not paying $4 for that. So I'll just wash this one and use it if I want to. And then I have I was going to say sideways tweezers. I don't know what these are called. I got them on Amazon. I couldn't tell you which ones they were. It was a millennia ago. And then I also get the clusters from Amazon. I've seen really good clusters on Shein as well, but I had some from them and they made my eyes itchy, so I stopped using them. And it might have been the glue as well, but I just tossed it. Anyways, these are like a cat eye kind of anime lash. I like the wispy lashes. But the first thing that I'm gonna kind of talk about is the power of a consistent routine. This is weird. This is gonna be weird. And not even just like a regular routine, but the power of a fitness routine. And this is gonna look so weird because I'm gonna be like looking down and doing it, but hopefully you guys get the message. And with a workout routine, so like I said, I'm a coach, and what I like to do for my own clients is make sure that whatever we plan for them fits them and only them. So everything I do for all my clients is completely custom, but the reason being is because it should be custom in my eyes. There is no one size fits all program, although sometimes those one size fits all programs can get somebody in a better place. If you're looking for really specific things catered to the things that you want to accomplish, having a plan that fits your lifestyle, your body, your goals, the things that you enjoy as well is really, really important. So what I usually will do is ask people, what do you normally resonate with? Do you resonate with Pilates? Do you resonate with yoga? Do you like to run? Do you like to lift weights? Do you like to be at home? Do you like to be at a gym? And once you ask yourself those questions, you can start to build your routine. And you can even have a hybrid thing going on. Maybe you have some days at home, you have some days at the gym. Both are awesome. The most important thing is consistency. So there are tons of benefits to having an exercise routine outside of looking good and being confident. Also, just it helps with your mindset. It helps. I always say that it's like a domino effect, and it usually impacts your nutrition, the other habits that you're looking into. For me, I don't like drinking because I don't want to be hungover because I can't work out, and then my body feels weak. And there's so many other things, and it's actually the number one preventative for. That's crazy. It's the number one preventative for most preventable, obviously, diseases, but it helps your heart health. It helps keep your blood work clean. It helps keep your muscles from atrophying. And all of those have benefits. And the more muscle mass you have, usually the healthier you are because your body is more resilient, not only physically, but internally as well. So exercise is definitely one of the most powerful tools we have for mental clarity and emotional regulation. And a study from Harvard Medical School found that regular exercise reduces symptoms of depression and anxiety because it increases serotonin and endorphins. And that's basically the feel-good chemicals in your brain. So What really kept me going was focusing on discipline, not motivation. Motivation fades, but discipline is something that you do consistently. One of the biggest questions that my clients actually ask is when do I know when I should rest? Like, when do I know when it's just me making excuses for myself versus when it's a time that I actually need to take off? And for me, it's really building that trust and that relationship with, so this is my mirror, with your body and yourself. And over time, you'll be able to be less anxious about taking breaks if you were like me. And if it's just like you don't have anxiety, but you just don't want to do it and you don't want to get started, then you'll start to build this relationship as you start to get consistent with something that you like. And it doesn't have to be crazy. Something small is always better. It's something that you can stick with and give yourself a sense of accomplishment. Unfortunately, I can't give a whole lot of advice around pushing through days that you're not motivated, because I've been doing that. I was an athlete, so I've been doing that since the dawn before time. Like, I've been doing that shit since I played soccer from 5 until I was 19, and then played just recreationally after that, played a year in college. If you have an athletic background like me, then you understand that sometimes it's just like you like that physical release, or you've learned, this isn't everybody, but I learned that that physical release was really good for my mental health. And it was a good channel for me emotionally as well. I used to be a very emotionally distraught young gal. But so if you feel like you have a day where you're just like, man, I'm not motivated, always do like a check-in with yourself, a physical check-in and a mental check-in, of course. But physically, am I feeling good, or am I just having a rough go at it? Like, is today just a bad day, or a bad moment rather? I think that we always shove it into being a bad day when really it's just like a bad thing happened that day. It doesn't mean the day is completely blown, but we tend to think that way. So thinking about how people think, when you're feeling that way, physically check in with yourself, see if it's something that you can push through. And if you're not sure, I'll just go to the gym and get on a piece of cardio equipment and tell myself I'm going to go for however long. You could say 10 minutes if it's real hard that day. Usually mine is like 30 minutes. So I'm like, okay, worst comes to worst, I feel like leaving after I do whatever it is that I do. The cardio is usually my go-to. And if I don't, if I'm there and I'm just saying like, fuck it, might as well, I'm already here, then it's obviously the hardest part is getting there. But the hardest part is showing up. So if you can get yourself to show up and then do something, it's going to help the habit stick in the long run. So if that means that you're just doing a little bit of walking and you do that every day for, say, like a week while you're not motivated, guess how much further ahead you're going to be if you do nothing? 0 steps. Whereas if you just show up and do a little bit of something, one, it's going to increase your motivation for when you do have the bandwidth to do some other exercise, or maybe that is what your exercise routine looks like, and that's perfectly fine. And I always say that the 5-minute version of your goal, 5-minute version, so if your goal is to do 40 minutes of cardio or a 40-minute lift, the 5-minute version is going to help you keep that mental space for yourself to show up during that time. Also making a habit out of the time you want to show up. So like for me, I wake up around 3:30. This is completely not everybody's case. I go to bed super early, and I'm a super morning person. Like, what is important is finding that time that you feel like is good for you and that works really well for you. I am biased towards morning, obviously, because I'm a morning person, but also because I can't make excuses at the end of the day. Like, I'm more likely to be tired and to say, never mind, if I wait later in the day to do it. And plus, the gym is so busy in the evening, and I do not like being perceived. Even though I am a fitness professional, I loathe being at the gym when there's a lot of other people. I like to kind of flow through my workout and just get it done and be in my own space and not feel like I'm being watched. I know that about myself. And I say that to say, you need to figure out those things about yourself too, of knowing like, hey, do I mind being around people? If you're just doing cardio in the evening, is probably decently okay for you. But if you're trying to, get into weights, I would pick a time that, one, obviously works for you and your schedule. But like I said, morning tends to be, the crowd tends to be a little bit more chill. There's usually more older people there, so it's not like super loud and rambunctious. There's some younger people, obviously. There's always like a younger crowd that's like into lifting. But for the most part, you just need to find the time that you can go consistently and show up consistently at that time. There'll be some days that you adjust it a little bit, or like I keep the same time all the time just because I'm a creature of habit. But having that routine will help you. And this is not a hickey, I promise. I did gouache. I took a video. I'll put it right here. But yeah, that's going to help you a lot with the motivation aspect, because you just know that you need to show up at that time. It feels normal for you to show up at that time, and it's in whatever time that is, whether it's morning or evening or midday. You just need to find a time that works for you and stick with it. And if you have 30 minutes, do 30 minutes. If you have 20 minutes, do 20 minutes. If you have 10 minutes, do 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be this huge, long, like, ordeal that you dread going to all the time. Just because I do an hour and a half workout doesn't mean you need to do an hour and a half workout. You need to do what you can do and stick with it. And that can change over time, and you can adapt while things kind of adjust and flow through your life. You might have a period of time where you can only get 30-minute workouts, and you might have a period of time where you have all the time in the world to get your workout done. Do what you can and stick with it. And if you're already starting a workout routine, like I said, start small, stay consistent, focus on the feeling after you work out, and that feeling will become very addictive. And yeah, you just have to stick with it and get started. Honestly, getting started is always ugly and it's always hard, but it'll never happen if you don't start. And you can keep telling yourself tomorrow, but you won't. Next, so number one was getting a routine down. Let me get this smoothie in. It's going to take me like an hour to drink. So next is women's health and hygiene. I think that taking care of your appearance as a woman helps us feel so much more confident in ourselves and our abilities. I have gotten to a point where I feel much more productive and I feel much more confident when not necessarily that have like a full beat. I don't even know how to do a full beat first and foremost, but just having like a little bit of lip liner on, putting some lashes on, making sure my eyebrows are trimmed, and smelling good. Smelling good for me is super grounding. I work from home, so I don't necessarily do it to smell good for anyone or because I'm around anyone, but literally because it makes me feel like comforted to smell good. But my hygiene routine and my women's health routine has become a lot more consistent for me this year, one. And two, I actually established it this year. So there was these things that I did. Oh my God, what the fuck did that hit you? Oh, there it is. There are things that I just did because I was like, oh, today's a self-care day. Every day is a self-care day for me now, and I take care of everything every day. And I mean, what is going on? It's just don't want to stay. But the first thing that I did was basically, obviously, prioritizing my health outside of like exercise and nutrition is kind of plays into this, but outside of just exercise. And I wanted to understand my body more, work with my cycle more, and taking care of yourself is a really grounding thing. It brings me back to reality, and I tend to like shoot myself up into very intellectual spaces and like beyond physical, very in my head. I'm not very grounded. Not necessarily not grounded in reality, but I love a good whimsy thought and I love pondering. But sometimes that makes me neglect not necessarily my body, but like my physical space, or like I'm not slowing down enough, so I'm not doing things with enough intention. Like I'll accidentally leave a mess I meant to clean up because I'm thinking about something. And so being grounded in my body by taking care of myself has helped me a lot to just like get my shit together in general. If this bitch doesn't stick, I'm gonna fucking stab my eye, bitch. Okay. So I have started kind of cycle syncing. I haven't gotten super in depth with it yet, but honoring my activities and aligning them with where I am energetically. And, I think that your cycle is a spiritual thing. So spiritually where I am, and it can also help boost your creativity. So it's fascinating how deeply biologically connected we are. And we are very connected to our biology, and most of us never learn this stuff growing up. So one small change I made was creating rituals around hygiene. For example, I started ending my day with skincare. that felt like less of a chore and more like an act of love. And became this moment where I reconnected with myself and kind of like grounded myself after a chaotic day. And other things that I kind of started to do was making sure that I got my like shower routine really down pat. So what I do is I start with dry brushing, which is from Ayurveda, which is an Indian practice. It's been around for centuries. This is not something I came up with, but it is very good for your lymphatic system. And I just dry brush head to toe, and especially where my lymph nodes are, especially like my armpits and the backs of my knees, and also my stomach. So like down, so that I can help with digestion. And it just helps with blood flow and your skin health. And girl, if I drop one more of these lashes, I'm not gonna have any. Okay. Heard. So my shower routine, I used to just like normal wash my face, wash my hair, and wash my body, and then be donezo, right? But I realized that there is kind of like a good balance to how to do those things. And so what I do now to help me smell good is I start obviously dry brushing, and then I go into the shower and I will wash my face, wash my hair if I'm washing it that day. And for my body, I start with an antibacterial bar of soap. I use Dove and the unscented one, and I just, from head to toe, every crack and crevice, I get in there with the antibacterial. It's going to help kill the bacteria that makes you stinky. And then obviously I rinse that off. Good riddance to those fucking lashes. But I rinse it off, and then I get out of the shower. Swear to God, period. Okay. I get out of the shower, and I don't always do oil every day, but a lot of days I'll do like a body oil and then a lotion on top of that. But I will always use a lotion. And the lotion I either use the brand Native or the brand, what's it called? I want to say EOS, but that's my gym name. So I don't know if that's right, but it's the one that smells super good. I don't have a picture. I could put a picture right here. But both of them are phthalate and paraben free, which are really bad chemicals for your skin, and they are petroleum based, and I don't rock with that. It's not good for your skin. It's not good for your body. It's not good for your hormones. So I stopped using that type of stuff, or I try to be as intentional as I can with not using that stuff. And then whatever deodorant you want to use, try to use one that's a little bit better for your body, not as chemically. I personally like What the Hum is a good brand. Some of the Tom's ones are good. It just depends. And if you drink enough water, it's a lot easier to not have like BO. And if you stay hydrated, I have not been consistent enough with chlorophyll to know if that actually helps you from smelling as bad, but I have heard that it does. I can't speak for that. I do drink it, but not consistently. So that's something where I can't really vouch for it, but I have heard that. And I drink a lot more water. I'm not always really great at it, but try to keep up with your hydration, and that usually helps a lot with smells and bacteria in your body. It dilutes it a little bit. But those are all things that I definitely started doing that I wasn't doing before. And if you have trouble kind of starting habits like this, there's a psychological concept called the keystone habit. And these habits they spark a ripple effect, positively influencing the other areas of your life. So for me, investing in my health and hygiene became a keystone habit. And I've mentioned this in an episode before, but habit stacking is really helpful. So if you always brush your teeth, maybe you always brush your teeth and then dry brush, or you always brush your teeth and then like get some lotion. And while I'm cleaning myself and doing my lotion, it's always a spiritual for me. So while I'm washing, I'll say like I wash away any negative energies that are mine or someone else's, and I cleanse this energy from my system and from my body and from my spirit. And then, let the water wash over me and wash it away. As I wash this away, it's washing down the drain. Whatever resonates with you is a perfect way to go about that. And then when I get out and I'm putting on lotion, I say affirmations and I rub the lotion on myself and just say whatever affirmations resonate with you. Like, I am successful, I'm beautiful, I am abundant, my energy is positive, and whatever you come up with is perfect. And just saying some positive things to yourself, it is proven that speaking affirmations does do something to our system. And I'm actually going to do an episode soon on the placebo effect. because that's just crazy. That's what I'll say. But the next thing is how I'm kind of gonna reflect a little bit and talk about what I want to do in 2025. I think speaking on the things that you want is very powerful, and I'm also very protected in my energy, and I don't tend to speak these things out loud because I live by myself, just me and my dog. I could talk to him, but I don't. In, let's say, like, it was like 2022 and 2023, I was not in a good headspace for myself. I had gotten past the point of like physically not liking myself, and my body image was decently okay at that point. Of course, I was always trying to improve my physique, but it was more from like a place of intrigue and interest rather than actual hate. And throughout those years, I was just really operating on autopilot, and I did a lot of things that who I am now would not do, and some things that I'm not very proud of, just like hurting myself, hurting others, and like emotionally. I'm not physically hurting people, but I just didn't have enough self-awareness to where I was operating in the world in a way that was contributing very positively. I wasn't like, I don't know. I think I was kind of like, I wouldn't condone the activities that I was doing, just being overly dramatic, really in a victim mindset. And just at one point, I had a eureka moment, and I didn't want to be that way anymore. I didn't want to be that person. And it felt like I had shifted back into like how I was when I was a teenager, like just super rebellious, doing stuff literally because people told me not to do stuff. Consciously, I wasn't doing it because I was like, oh, you told me to do this, I'm going to do the opposite. It was not a conscious thing at all. I was literally operating like with no intention or awareness of myself. And that is that's a very dangerous person to be around. And two, that's a very dangerous person to be, especially if you're trying to like be the best person that you can be. And I wasn't doing that because of like anything in particular. Honestly, like when I turned like 23, I would say, I started to have like these, how would I say it? Maybe like I was remembering things that I hadn't remembered before, like traumatic things. And I was really struggling with not only like working through those things, but I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to. And that led me to like internalize a lot and still not talk to anyone. Even if I was like talking to people, I was doing everything and anything I could to avoid thinking about what I was going through or what I had went through, because this is like, they were things that had already happened, and was really struggling to accept like the dark sides of myself, even though this has been something that I've talked about with like shadow work. And accountability sometimes is a hard thing for humans. And it was definitely hard for me at that point in my life. And I just didn't, like, I had horrible things happen to me. I can talk about them at another time. I don't feel like it right now. But I just was in a victim mindset and didn't see the power in myself. And I, like, understandably, I'm not judging myself for that, but I am not condoning how I was acting. And I can forgive myself, but not repeat my actions. And that's what I've chosen to do in 2025 and most of 2024. I think it was like, oh shit. But I would say that it was towards like the beginning, maybe like a couple months into 2024, that I really started to shift things. I had been, as I do, intellectualizing all this stuff in like late 2023 when I moved to Las Vegas in June, because I had a lot more time to myself. I was no longer living with or around anybody that I knew, and completely alone. My sister's a couple hours away, but really this is like the first time that I was really completely alone. And so I had a lot of time to think and reflect. And something, said this a billion times in the past like few podcasts, but something about turning 25, just like something switched in my brain. And I just started wanting different for myself. I started to want like financial stability and emotional stability. And I didn't want to keep repeating the same patterns I had been repeating since I was literally like 15 years old. And it was just time for change. And I always say this, that getting sick of your own shit is sometimes the first step that you'll take. And it's not always going to come in a way that you want it to. sometimes it's very forced onto us in a sense of like needing to change. And this was the first time that I decided to make the change without there being like a glaring problem in my face. I had already went through the glaring problem, so I was reflecting on the glaring problem more so than anything. And I say that because I don't know, I really regretted a lot of the things that I did and how I acted. I really cared about the people that I was, neglecting, and those people probably will never see me the same. And that's like the hard part of accountability is you have to be aware that like, because you're acting in a way doesn't, like, if you're a new person doesn't mean that that person's gonna forgive you. And that is the hard part about accountability. But after you take that accountability, life gets so much easier because you don't let other people bullshit you, because you don't bullshit yourself. And that includes like giving you better and stronger opportunities in your career, giving you better and stronger opportunities in relationships if that's what you're focusing on. That's not something that I'm focusing on right now. I'm focusing on my relationship with myself, my relationship with my family, and my relationship with my spirituality and the universe, God, whatever you call it. I just want to really inside out, not fix myself because I don't think there's anything wrong with me, but heal myself. And I think that there's some things that still have not been unearthed or that I have not realized yet. And I would love to, have the opportunity to move through those things and be able to share my testimony with people who will be really impacted and need it. Because I always kind of received messages through other people about the good things that I can expect, or like someone else will realize something and I'm like, damn, that sounds like me. And it just helps me a lot. So I want all the things that I've been through and all the things that I've learned to be a testimony and not something that I'm held back by. Like, I don't want to be a victim anymore. And I think that's the first step in flourishing. It's just admitting that you don't want something for yourself and find what you do want. I don't necessarily know what direction life is going, but I'm trying to slow down and just enjoy the ambiguity, I suppose. And I kind of like that. I'm not sure. Kind of like that I'm just working on these small things like my habits, my routines, the way that I talk to myself, the way that I take care of myself. Because when I am in a place where I'm ready to have a family or go that route, I'll feel like I deserve it, I think. And I think knowing that you're taking care of yourself and doing your best really helps get rid of imposter syndrome, which is something I've always struggled with. I came from a very high achieving household. I was just chicken the whole bitch, and I was the black sheep of the family and also the scapegoat. So I have always really struggled with my identity and what I wanted, because I always felt like a part of me looked for validation from my parents, and eventually that validation was receiving that validation was prioritized elsewhere once I was an adult. And I went through that phase of like not liking my parents and not liking my family, and eventually came out of that and was much better for it. But nonetheless, I did go through a phase where I didn't want anything to do with my family, and I did everything by myself to my own demise in some senses, and became hyper independent out of spite. And although it worked really well for me in hindsight, maybe I wouldn't be in the position I was in if I just kind of like realized that sooner. But shoulda, coulda, woulda, right? And just giving myself time and space to be alone and actually think my own thoughts and reflect helped me so much. This is gonna look crazy, y'all, but give me 1 second. That was another thing that I did when I was younger, like early college years. Is I got into relationships out of convenience almost, and because I wanted a relationship, but I wasn't super intentional about and I'm thinking of like my first adult boyfriend in particular. And I say adult loosely, like when I was 18, 19, I didn't have a lot of intention with the type of partner I wanted, and he ended up being the worst kind. And again, like not having reflected on myself and what I wanted. So I didn't know like had no expectations, which is almost worse than having too many expectations, because I just let anything and everything fly, which caused me a lot of damage. So some of that I didn't realize until I had this time to reflect on myself and be able to stop projecting on people or men or whomever, because I think that it was deeper than just like relationship stuff. And it's really powerful to not just numb yourself out and just keep scrolling. And that's something else that I did this year is I got the app Opal. And I talked about this last time as well, but it has really helped me to set boundaries with how much time I'm spending on my phone, which also helps me think my own thoughts. And I'm not sponsored by any means. Your bitch has like fucking 30 followers. But it really helped me like get off my phone, because I block it out on from 8 to 4 on weekdays, and also 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. because that's when I work out, so that I'm not using social media while I'm working out. I'm focusing on that. And then also on weekends from 12 to 5, so that I can work on podcast stuff or clean the house or get out of the house, because I'm in the house all the time. But those are some things that really helped me, and the Opal app is really cool. I like it a lot. And I use the free version, but there is like a paid version as well that is like a step further, because on the one that I have, you can take breaks and you can end it early, but on the other one you can't. So ideally I'd like to be able to get that one, but I'm trying to see if I'm utilizing this one first. And there was a philosopher, Soren Kierkegaard, that said the greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world as if it were nothing at all. And I saw that quote and I was like, and I didn't want to lose myself, because after that relationship I mentioned, I did feel like I lost myself, and I lost like an innocent part of myself, because I was so like cutesy and naive and forgiving, very devout Buddhist. And he kind of took that from me, or I let him take that from me in a sense, because he showed me the ugly side of like people. I didn't know that people just like straight up lied and hurt people in that way. And I was very traumatized by it. Long story short, he was like a serial cheater and just like abusive as well. And I really lost myself. This looks so crazy, y'all. Really, and me losing myself in that relationship caused me to act in ways that like I didn't recognize myself in my next relationship. And it wasn't until after my boyfriend after him pointed it out to me, of saying like, you put these issues, this is so crazy, I'll fix it. You put these issues on me and you're like projecting on me from your last relationship. And I was like, and it stopped me in my tracks, because I was like, yeah, you're right. But it wasn't something that was like abusive, but I was very argumentative, and I would like tell little white lies that I didn't need to tell with him, that I did need to do to protect myself in the last relationship. But I hadn't even taken the time to like sit and reflect on like why am I lying? Like, this isn't something you need to lie about. It'd be like stupid shit too, like saying I was doing something productive when I wasn't, or like just stupid shit, like shit that I didn't need to lie about. But that made the trust kind of falter in that next relationship that I had, and it just caused more and more problems. And that was because I didn't take the time to self-reflect and be intentional about myself and how I communicated with people and how I wanted my interactions with people to be received. I think that was something I definitely learned in 2024, that isolation is not loneliness, is necessary. And oftentimes you'll be in a better position if you know yourself inside and out. And discipline is self-love in action, and it's showing up for yourself day after day. And knowing yourself deeply, like I said, is the key to knowing yourself deeply is key to peace. When you know what you value, you know what you want, life feels a lot less chaotic and also a lot more in your control. I think those are all things that helped me a lot this year, and that I'm going to be carrying with me into next year. Maybe this is from my coffee, because it's not like, you see that? It's not like dry. Like there's no, I don't know. Maybe it's because it got wet. But all this is really important for you stepping into an intentional time of your life and not letting other people or your trauma or other things completely derailing you in a way that just like is no longer beneficial for you. And I think there's certain things that have to happen for us to like really register that like you have to learn it. But I think continuing to do things that you know don't make you feel good is just self-sabotage at its finest level. And I was just really over that. And I wanted to be happy. I wanted to have peace. And I just had the realization that all of that is within my control. And that is something that I have to take action on. Like, it's not just going to fall in my lap. I have to go get it. And like the things that I do won't always align with where I am in life. But that's the fun of it, where you can adapt and change and do things in new ways and not have to feel confined by something that you used to identify with, like saying, I have to keep doing this thing because I've told everybody that I do this thing. Who fucking cares? Just fucking start doing the shit that you like, that you're resonating with. And I think going with the flow is always a hard concept to grasp, or it has been for me at least. And what I've realized is that the flow is where my interest goes. So if I find that I'm feeling interested in going to a yoga class, or interested in learning how to pole dance, or interested in this, that, and the third, those are little nudges from the universe to just try something new. And maybe it's just that you're craving a new experience or whatever it is, but those little things can lead to big opportunities to learn about yourself. And even if that thing that you learn is that you don't like whatever you tried, at least you know. And it's really hard to live in a life and continue showing up in a life that you feel like is just no longer aligned with who you are, or like where you are at that period. And constantly taking that time to yourself allows you to reflect and realize those things before you get to a breaking point. Because it's really easy to get to a point where you're just like, I can't fucking do this anymore. And you just explode, and then you self-sabotage like I do. It's very dead in my mouth, for surely. But there is beauty in the madness, for sure. And I have found it, and I am embracing it, and I feel much better about everything. It's not about perfection. It's about small intentional steps every day, and learning to trust yourself, respect your body and your mind, and create a life that feels like yours, not like somebody else created it for you. And if you're reflecting on your own year, or you're planning for 2025, remember that you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start with one thing, one workout, one journal entry, or just like decorating your space to make it feel more like yours, and let it ripple out. So it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be intense, but it does have to be intentional. So thank you for being here. I'm ready now, except for my lips. I'm going to fix that. But thank you for being here and sharing this journey with me. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And here's to a year of growth, self-love, and becoming the best version of ourselves. Oh yeah, the nails. But yeah. And thank you for tuning in. I'm Kara, aka at the.karadime, KARADIGM on Instagram. Excuse my crazy ass lips. Thank you. Take care of yourselves. Yeah. Talk soon.